I have 2,000 hours in Dota 2. Had 2,000 hours in Dota. That's 83 days, a quarter of a year spent playing one game. This doesn't include countless hours outside the game spent watching guides, tournaments, and updates about Dota. If I include that time, we are looking at closer to 3,000 hours. Now, we've all spent hundreds of hours on hobbies or games, most likely games, but as I get older, I look back and wonder what those hours really meant to me now. 83 days is a long time to be doing something, so why did I stop? Now, if you're not familiar with Dota, thanks for clicking on the video. I am going to explain myself. This video is less about Dota the game, and more about competitive gaming, live service games, and time. So, please stick around, and hopefully my experience of Dota will resonate with your experience of another game. There is a lot of Dota talk though, so I will take you through the basics. Hopefully by the end of the video you will know a little bit more about Dota and understand why it's not really a bad thing to be left behind. Now, to be fair to me, these 2,000 hours, these 83 days, took place over nearly a decade. I built my first PC in 2016. Well, my brother built the PC, I stood far away, nodding occasionally and not doing much. Except maybe the odd noise as my brother applied thermal paste. Being 16 and a bit too eager to get into PC gaming, I didn't actually budget for a graphics card. I know, I told myself that I would get it soon, but it actually took me about 3 years before actually adding one to the rig. Being without a GPU is kind of an issue when you want to play PC games, so as I was figuring out what integrated graphics could do in 2016, my brother introduced me to a little game called Dota 2. Surprisingly, it ran flawlessly. I picked up Dota to tide me over until I got a graphics card so I could play real games, but as you already know, that wasn't how it worked out. Dota turned up at the perfect time in my life. I had basically no responsibilities other than the odd exam, and it was a great break from the rest of real life. Dota isn't an easy game to get into though. Believe me, I've tried to convince my friends countless times and rarely succeeded. The concept itself is simple. It's a 5v5 match across 3 distinct lanes. Each team tries to take out the other team's ancient HQ thing, whatever you want to call it. Easy, right? There's less rolling around in Dota, but a whole lot more items and strategies. Oh, so many items. It's hard to avoid the decision paralysis when you start. And yes, your item choice does unfortunately matter, unless you don't mind getting abused online. The learning curve is steep, and the skill ceiling constantly getting higher with endless mechanics to min-max. Just as the excitement might begin to wane, a big yearly update would shuffle how the game worked, and the player base, including me, would rush back to see what was new. Was my strategy still valid? Was the hero I had spent so long to get to grips with still viable? Or would I need to try something new? All this, for better or for worse, kept the game fresh and at least interesting. But my first few 100 games were difficult. Losing matches in Dota felt like a waste of time, with the longer matches leaving me disappointed with how I had spent a whole evening. By the way, a match of Dota is roughly 40 minutes. Sometimes shorter, but probably longer. A match per hour, with the chain queuing and setup, it can quickly take up the whole night. One more game on a weeknight was dangerous territory, not just for the mounting loss streaks, but also the wrath of my mother. This doesn't mean the game was miserable though. I often got support in those early matches, mostly from my brother. I started to invest more time into games, with the two of us playing complementary heroes and locking down the same lane together. This way I could mostly avoid getting flamed by my own team while I learned the ropes. The time started to tick up. Hours with my brother and friends increased as we eventually found a full 5-team stack where everyone was happy to play their respective positions. I had sort of overcome the sensory overload that makes up Dota. I won a few games and enjoyed it for what it was, something that encourages you to try something new. Don't sit in comfortable mediocrity just because you learned how to last hit and creep pull. Go try that wacky new build you saw online. Or don't. As I grew more familiar with the game, I tried more complex heroes. Arc Warden quickly became a favourite before the nerfs. It was a hero that could be in 2 places at once. Double the impact, double the item duration. I had unlocked something. I was racking up win streaks, peaking at 10 wins in a row, by the way. I had figured it out, at my MMR at least. Provided I could control 2 units and had a reasonably good start, winning wasn't the 50-50 it used to be. Add some good positioning and teamwork, I could snowball and carry the game. Fights were getting easier and subsequent pushes got simpler. What used to equate to button mashing with Arc Warden became calculated and catered to each situation. I chose items based on my team and enemies instead of mindlessly following the guides. I had the time to learn the counters and feel everything out, and it felt great. Until it didn't. Remember those yearly updates I was telling you about? For one update, Arc Warden was on the wrong side of the barrel. I didn't understand the meta anymore, and my boy Spirit Fragment thing became unpopular. I had lost the win potential I had worked so hard to unlock. On to the next hero, I guess. It was around this time, as I was taking Dota more seriously, that my brother, the one who introduced me to Dota, started to back off. At the time, I didn't get why. I was rocking Dota well into my uni years, but I do have to admit that things were slowing down as I finished my degree. Time moved forward and things were changing. The people I played with regularly became harder and harder to reach. I guess they were developing their own complex lives. It's a cliche, but I finally began to understand that time really is a luxury when you're an adult. It was my turn. I could no longer chain queue for multi-hour binges without the guilt that I should be doing something else. So I started losing again. I sat down at my PC, excited for some Dota, only for that excitement to turn to dread and frustration when my matchups had grasped new mechanics I had missed. And as it happens, competitive gaming communities aren't known to be the most understanding. Relearning every update felt pointless and unforgiving. I was stuck. The less I played Dota, the more I disliked the game. The more I played though, the less time I had for everything else. I found that the continued updates were becoming real barriers. I wanted to commit the time into Dota to stay relevant, but I just couldn't. I was in the middle of my first job, and with real responsibilities and worries, I finally understood why my brother said he didn't have the time for another game at 11 on a Wednesday. I'm sorry for calling you a baby with a bedtime. I really did enjoy the matches that we had together. I did try and learn the new metas for a while, but I didn't have enough time to get as good as I used to be before the yearly reshuffle would come by. Dota drifted further away from me, and I didn't have the community of friends around me to help push past those barriers like I used to. I've now realised that my golden age of Dota has passed me by. It did scratch an itch that no other game really has since, but the fact was, I wasn't enjoying the journey anymore. The only time I really enjoyed the game now was when I was winning, and those moments were increasingly fleeting. This is the thing. Dota leaves you behind. It's a live service game, which is great. It has a dedicated and active development team that cares about the player base. They continually update the game 12 years after launch to keep it relevant and fresh. It's a free game that only locks cosmetics behind a paywall. You'll be hard-pressed to find other games that follow a similar commercial roadmap with that track record. In fact, there's a long list of games that never really had the chance to get good, to get popular enough to leave someone like me behind. Billions of dollars are spent in this industry, but more importantly, hundreds of thousands of hours are spent by passionate developers on games that get crippled by shareholders from day one. It feels like games pushed by the large publishers are deemed not good enough if they aren't the next Fortnite. Hell, even indie games are getting measured against the stupid success of Stardew Valley or Balatro. Such are all things under the march for profit. If a game doesn't rock the world from day one, there's sometimes little that can be done to keep thousands of hours of dev work from being pulled, jobs from being lost. Art, story, player satisfaction, these aren't metrics for success if they don't translate to ever-increasing profits. Do you remember Concord? Concord reportedly took 8 years in development. 8 years. At a point, Firewalk Studios, who made the game, was employing nearly 100 people, probably more than that. Just imagine, in the time it took for me to put down 83 days in Dota 2, a team of people spent their working lives on only one published project. Concord wasn't anything groundbreaking. It probably cost too much and it didn't sell well. But it lasted 15 days. The game was delisted, refunded, and the servers taken offline. The studio was then permanently shut down and the project effectively eradicated by Sony. You cannot play Concord online, you cannot buy it. 8 years of cumulative work gone because aspects of the game and our initial launch didn't land the way we'd intended. It is rare for games to be given a chance at life at all. To actually flourish though, given enough time and independence, developers time and time again prove that they do care about their projects and players. To be left behind by a game like Dota is a privilege in an industry where games and increasingly developers are the ones that get left behind. My 83 days, my 2,000 hours are nothing on the careers of developers whose work gets nullified by decisions in boardrooms. The fact that Valve is willing to keep updating a free game and host huge prize pools for tournaments is a testament to their commitment, but also a sad rarity. Yes, Dota is a commercial success, but that's only because developers get to listen to the people who play it and work with them, even if it doesn't always feel like that. I've been steadily realising that time is precious, and as you get older, the decisions on how to spend it really do matter. I wish I had the time to play and lose Dota guilt-free. I wish all the people I used to play with did too, but we don't. Dota and the games like it require a huge time commitment. I'm just in a place where that commitment is no longer feasible or really enjoyable anymore. I would rather play games where I feel in control and where I dictate the pace. It's a privilege to have games that leave us behind. I hope that if you still play Dota, you enjoy it for years to come. I think every game deserves to be given a chance and be there for the people who want to play it, but that's not how things work. I think more importantly that the people who spend hundreds of thousands of hours on programming, design, art, story, testing the games we play get recognised for that work properly. Along with the people I played with and against, I have developers like that to thank for those 2,000 hours. I'm thinking about the time I spent playing Dota and the things I could have done instead. But I've come to the conclusion that, like any hobby, time spent doing something you enjoy is really hard to waste. I am still a huge fan of Dota, and I think I always will be. I still religiously tune into key tournaments, I even still read patch notes when the time allows, and I will still play a game every 6 months to see if I might still have it. I don't. At least I don't feel too pressured to win or improve anymore. It's fine just to test the waters. I'm finally content with my time spent with Dota. It's tied up with my teenage years and a lot of good memories. I try not to dwell too much on nostalgia though, so I am happy to leave that Steam counter where it is and sit back on the sidelines as a spectator and a supporter.